God is really, really good to us, y'all. He is. And from time to time, we all have been guilty of not giving him what he deserves. You know, getting caught up with things. But I want to say this. In order to really experience God in his fullness, you do have to let go of stuff. Yeah. You really can't. It's no other way around it. And I was speaking with this young lady, and the Holy Spirit dropped it in my spirit as she and I were talking. And I was saying, those of us that know God, I said, y'all know God. Y'all know the way. If I'm telling y'all and y'all don't listen and y'all supposed to know the way, how do you think you can go and convert somebody that don't know? When you won't obey it, you know. You won't obey it and you know the truth, but you won't obey it. But you think somehow you're going to get somebody else to obey what you can't even obey. And you say you know him. We got to realize we're not little gods. We little gods in witnessing. But as far as being over somebody else's life, we can't do nothing. But show the big God inside of us. Show the big God working and moving in our lives. Then we're able, but oftentimes we're trying to play God. I did it. But you think you're doing it out of love because you love the people, right? You love them. So you're trying to play God. Like Elder was saying, get out the way so God can do what he gonna do. Because when you think about it, how can I really fix you and ain't fixed? How can I? How can I really help you and ain't fixed? Because God said work out your own soul in salvation with what? Fear and trembling. We got to work out our own stuff. It's okay to want to aid, but don't be in the same boat trying to, because it's almost like you just pass each other. You know, nobody's really helping. We're just kind of transferring. But nobody's really getting free. Because not one person has stood strong enough to pull nobody else out. If I'm not standing firm, I really can't pull you up. No matter how much my heart wants to. Because I'm not standing firm, I can't pull you up. I don't have the strength. But today, we're going to talk about what are you thinking about? And when God gave me this a couple weeks ago about thinking, and to me it seems so simple, don't it? Like thinking. But when I really studied this, thinking is a whole lot more than what we realize. Proverbs 23:7, the A part says, "For as he thinketh in his heart, so is he." Romans 12:2, King James Version says, "And be not conformed to this world, but be ye transformed by the renewing of your mind, that ye may prove what is that good and acceptable and perfect will of God." I said, well, God, we've been, in my mind, like we've been reading this, like we know this. But we've been reading stuff, but do we know it? Do we understand it? He says, be not conformed to this world, but be ye transformed by the renewing of your mind. That happens when we think. It says that ye may prove what is that good and acceptable and perfect will of God. Now let's go to what think means. It means to call anything to mind, to remember, to reflect upon any subject, to meditate, to ponder, to consider, to deliberate, to conceive, to imagine, to plan. So when you thinking, you're deliberating, you're meditating, you're pondering, you're considering, you're remembering. And what really got me out of all the things was to conceive and to imagine. So when you think, you can what? Conceive of your thoughts. Have you ever thought about that? That I can conceive off of my thoughts. That's why he said, think on them things that are what? Pure. Well, Philippians 4:8 says, finally, brothers, whatsoever things that are true, whatsoever things that are honest, whatsoever things are just, whatsoever things are pure, whatsoever things are lovely, whatsoever things of a good report, if there be any virtue, yes, and if there be any praise, think on these things. Romans 4:17, when it said the B verse said, call those things that be not as though they were. Yes. So when I do that, I am conceiving something. What I'm speaking is bringing about conception, because if I'm calling those things that be not as though they were, I got the first word, see it, in order to speak it. Right. Because don't you notice you mainly speak what you see, right? When you think, what are you doing when you think? You see. You getting an image of something when you think it. Think about when you think. You ain't thinking it not. And what you think about, you get, you know how you know you do that? Because if I tell you about a classmate, you'll be like, they ain't look like I thought. Well, how did you even picture them? Because you just came up with something in your mind. You'll be like, oh, they didn't look like I thought they would look. Because, and then and I often say, well, why did we say that? Because when we think, we're visualizing. We're imagining what we think something is. So if I'm thinking on good things, I can what? Produce what I'm thinking. But then it's going to get down in my spirit. And then what I'm thinking, I've conceived it. Why? Because I've meditated. Think about if somebody makes you upset and you think, oh, what happens? Get married. You might have been almost forgave. You think about that thing again, when it comes to your mind, if you don't pull it down, you're going to get what? Angry again. You could have been up forgave somebody. But if it comes to your mind and you think on it too long, you get back upset again. So our thoughts is very important. And what God was dropping with me saying, a lot of things I have for you, even said even to me first, but I can't get you to think long enough for me to give it to you. I need you to think. You praying, but you're not thinking. You're saying stuff, but you're not thinking. You're not sitting long enough for me to give you a plan. When you think about it, how do you think somebody came up with airplanes, cars? They had to do what? Think. And who you think gave it to them? Jesus. He had to. So we're looking for things and we're praying for this and that, but he's saying if you sit down, I can give you a plan. I can give you a creation. I can give you an invention if you think. But we don't think. We just say we're going to do and we start running. Or if we think, we're thinking and modeling off what somebody else has done. But he's saying, how can I do something new if you're trying to duplicate what somebody else has done? I need you to sit still and think and meditate on me and ask me. When you ask God how he was bringing it to me, when you ask me for something, like how many of us just want like more money? Amen. In our jobs, you can't see it happening with the job you got, can you? You really can't. He was saying, but if you will sit before me, I can give you a plan. Yeah, come on. He said, I can give you a plan. Yes. How do you think that other people got them something. So I was like, oh, okay. So I see why you said you praying. So when the Bible tells us like we pay our tithe, and obviously when he opened up a window that we ain't got room enough to receive, pour out a blessing we ain't got room enough to receive. When I said, God, okay, you gonna pour out a blessing. Have you ever thought what the blessing is? That you ain't got room enough to receive. Have you ever thought about what it is? The mental capacity to receive what he's going to give you for those blessings to come to fruition. I said, I never thought about, can you receive the mental capacity? Can you let me drop something on you that you don't have room enough to receive it? This brain, I got some things I can share. I can show you how to take your business to the next level. I can show you, sit down if something is needed. How do you think people come up with dustpans? Somebody just said, I need something to put the trash on. They could have been using a piece of paper one day and said, why don't I make a pan? And I'm sure they're millionaires by now. You think about how simple it is. You're doing something. And you say, this would make it easier. But you got to do what? Think. But if all you're doing is going and never thinking, how can inventions and ideas and things get inside of you if you don't sit still? Do we sit still long enough when we talk to God? Or do we go drop our requests and get up and go? But do we meditate? How can this be better, God? Show me an angle that no one is seeing. What can I do? Because I was saying, now if I keep going this way, I'm going to leave without all this stuff I've been confessing. How am I going to get it? You got to let him give you some ideas. Matter of fact, some stuff he's giving you, but you ain't did nothing with it. Did nothing with it. Nothing. What good is it to think about something that can be great but don't do nothing about it? Is it going to help you and your family? I can say all day long my next generation won't be on the head and not the tail, above only and not the, you know how many folks said that and died and went down with nothing? And they believed it when they said it, didn't they? But quoting it and not doing nothing means nothing. But what you thinking about? Can I get you to think? God is charging us to think. It sounds simple, but what are you thinking about? Our thoughts make up who we are. Our thoughts are so powerful and cause roots to take place in our hearts. That's why Proverbs 23:7 says, so as a man thinketh in his heart, so is he. So when you think, you do know it goes down, don't you? You can say think can be here, you can say ponders on the heart, here, the brain. But we understand that the brain needs to be stimulated. But will we stimulate our brain? Will we stimulate what God, and I know some people say it's a muscle, it's not a muscle. But you got to stimulate it. What are we willing to do with our brain? And I was saying, y'all know the last 2 times God be taking me with stuff that just ain't even familiar to me. Like that reciprocal. Now he up there talking about, now I know everybody know about the brain, but you know what I'm saying. Things that I don't think of. The brain is a complex organ that controls thoughts, memory, emotions, touch, and motor skills, vision, breathing, temperature, hunger, and every process that regulates the body. Your brain controls all that. So when I'm thinking, that's how sometimes somebody can touch you so it bring back a memory. You know, I don't like when you touch me like that. It reminded me of something because your brain kept record of that. It knows that. You can smell something. This reminds me of, isn't it amazing how it smells, touch, sounds? It reminds you of stuff. Why? Because it's already there in your brain. Together, the brain and the spinal cord that extends makes up the central nervous system. The brain, y'all, only weighs about 3 pounds. And it says 60% of the brain is fat. 40% is water, protein, and carbohydrates and salt. I said, okay, God. So the brain only weighs 3 pounds, but can control whatever. A body that weighs 400, 300, 100. It controls that. Because it says when your brain dead, what happens? They say what? They die. They were like, we just got, and it's just the brain. But the brain is connected to what? The nervous system. So your thoughts is connected to your system, your body, your spirit. So when you think things that are depressing, what do your body start doing? It starts feeling sad. It feels down. Why? Because that's what you're thinking. That's why when I used to feel bad, when I could have shifted, you know what I do? Turn on me a good Hallmark movie. Christmas. I like Christmas. Those movies will make me smile. So I would shift my brain to something that was going to make me feel good. So we don't realize that everything is the thought. That's why they'll say when people going through things, really they got a chemical imbalance. So they need to take this to be balanced. So your brain will also do what? Balance you. So if this brain that I have is causing me, if all I do is think of evil, of a way I can scheme, or ways to lie, or ways to be deceptive, what am I going to be? A schemer. So when people see me, they're going to say, you look sneaky. Know why? Because that's all my brain sit around and think about. It thinks of that, so now I begin to look like my thoughts. So you be saying, how did that person get that look on? Because that's what they do. That's what they do. When you see people and they thinking they're pleasant and they're nice and they're good, why? Because they will themselves to be pleasant, to be nice, to be kind. They're thinking these things, so now in return they can reproduce their thoughts. So that's why even when people come up to us and they hug you and they're smiling, but you don't feel love because you're picking up their thoughts, not what they're doing. Because the brain is designed as what? An emotion. It can feel. So your brain is saying, So their brain is saying, I don't like Shonda, but I'm going to hug her. Her brain won't let her feel that. Because it's picking up what my brain is thinking. Right. Brain to brain. So you be saying, oh, I'm this and that. No. They are receiving you because they picking up your thoughts. Come on. A person can do all the right things, but you pick up their thoughts. Yeah. And you're saying, why can't I receive what they're saying? Because their heart is far from it. Because so as a man thinketh in his heart, so is he. Yeah. So we're trying to figure out, I'm giving, I'm doing it. You around, you double take, what is that? Because you're picking up thoughts. You're picking up thoughts. So that's why you don't underestimate when you feel, you look again, you picking up a thought. And one thing about you can't hide a thought. You can fake an action, but you can't hide a thought. A thought has to come through the body. Yes. And that's what's going on with the church. What we're thinking on is producing. And we're sitting trying to figure out, God, I'm doing my best. He said, no. What are you thinking about? You can be in his presence and thinking about what you want to do when you leave and wonder why you can't get nothing in here because your mind on what I got to do when I leave. That's your thoughts. Your thoughts is over there. Y'all ever talk to people and you talk to you tell their mind somewhere else? You never knowing. You like, let me hang up. I ain't no need to meet. I'm wasting time because your mind is somewhere else. Your thoughts have taken you somewhere, although your body, well, that's the only thing your mind is, your body's here with me, but your mind is on the other side of time. Did that man say that to that woman? Your body here with me, but baby, your mind is on the other side of time. That's what God said, your body up in here, but your mind on the other side of time. and it made them subject. So that your thoughts and your body can be lined up. And then you can produce some things. Because when you leave, you got plenty of time to think. When you leave, think about it. But you can't. Because your thoughts is where you really want to be. Your thoughts is what you really want to do. Erica asked me, baby, you want to ride to Dothan the weekend? I can say yeah with my mouth. But while I'm with him, he gonna know I ain't really want to be there. Because my thoughts is going to be saying, I could have been doing such and such. I could have been this. I could have been cleaning up today. Lord, I want to cook collard greens tomorrow. Got me out here dancing on the cheese. Lord, I could have been. So then, is he going to be able to connect with me? I'm going to be there with him. But because my thoughts on what I could have been doing, I won't be able to enjoy him. So we wonder what sometimes why we miss moments. Because where your thoughts at? It causes you to miss the right now moments. God show up, but your thoughts somewhere else, he can't do what he wants to do. Our thoughts is everything, y'all. Matthew 5:28, NIV version says, but I tell you that anyone who looks on a woman lustfully has already committed adultery with her in his heart. And where? In his heart. I said, now how is looking on somebody? But what does think mean? The word conceive. It means conceived on it. So if I look, that we look means to what? When I'm looking, I'm what I'm thinking, I'm conceiving, I'm doing thoughts. So he said, if you sat there, you thought on into your mind, you've done that because it's been conceived where? In the heart. And what do God go by? The heart. So that's why he said, you've already did it. Because your heart, you did it. You sat there long enough to ponder all this in your heart. So you've done the act. If you sit there and see yourself knocking somebody in the head and beating them and kicking them and stuff, that's Lord forgive you for beating them. Because we done picture just, I can see myself. Wow. I remember I did that. I said something, I see myself. They said, if that's what you see, you better see something else. I see myself just knocking. They say, oh, baby, you better picture something else. If that's what you're seeing. Because our thoughts create a picture. Jesus. We got to remember, whenever we're thinking, we're conceiving something. So what do you want to conceive? How do you see yourself? What are you saying about yourself every day? What are you trying to conceive? I never have this. I'll never be that. I won't be able to that. We're going to always this. It'll always be that way. It'll never change. We ain't going to never. And then get in here and say, oh, God, I agree. No, you don't. No, you don't agree. He said, no, you don't. Because 99% of the time you done said you don't. That 1% in here ain't going to change. Ooh. It says, I'm asking, do you believe the answer to what you're praying for is locked up inside of you? Do y'all really believe that? Like what you're praying for is inside of you. How do you know when people say, I failed to go to this bank and not that bank? That means the answer was where? In you. You went to where he told you to go. I wanted to go and get this house, but I was like, I didn't feel comfortable. That means the answer was where? Locked up where? Because he's what? Leading and guiding me. But if I'm just in pursuit and I'm not thinking about him, I just go make all kind of choices then wonder how did I get here? Because I didn't think. Is that you can't get the answer if you're not willing to think. Get before God and allow God to download something in you. Stop looking outward and start looking inward. God knows what he has given you. How do you think people came up with inventions? People are willing to think, but are you willing to respond? So you can think, but He already got the provision. If he gave you the thought to do it, the provision is there. You just got to stay connected to him so you can be led, so he can order your footsteps on who you need to run in contact with. I'm going to give you favor with this one. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that. But I need your thoughts to be lined up. And I don't need them to change from day to day. Because if you believe, then you can have it. But the thing is, do we really believe, people? Do you really believe you can live a free life? Do you really believe that you can have more than enough? Do you really? And the first step to saying that you trust God with money is you got to pay your tithes and offerings. Like, that is not something I harp on, but y'all, you just can't run away from that. You think he's going to give you an abundance of money and you won't give him $20 out of 200? Think about that. 20 out of 200. That ain't money. We're going to eat that up at McDonald's. But we'll say we can't afford the tithe, but we'll go out to eat. We'll get our hair done. We'll get our nails done. We'll do this, but we'll say, I can't afford the tithe. He's going to say, and I can't afford to bless you. We got to understand that God has a system. I don't care what nobody else tell you. You better go by what that word say. Because people will say, I ain't tithing to God blessing me. No, they ain't, because they got to borrow. They depressed. They can't figure it out. They trying to do this. Been there. When I wanted to tithe, I just couldn't have cable for a minute. Next thing I know, I had cable and everything else. Because I sacrificed just for a little bit. Because he gave me a promotion on the job that I wasn't looking for. I became a supervisor. I had more money, so I can afford my cable now. But guess what I was willing to do? Sacrifice for a moment. How do you think? How do I see tithing? Do I see it as I'm giving to people or I'm giving to God? How do I see it? Because if you think on it wrong, you can't give it. Because you're thinking wrong. You ain't thinking this is, he said to give it for his kingdom and see what he do for me. No, you ain't thinking. You're thinking, I gave my money to them folks. That's why you can't get nothing back. Your thinking is messed up. So if your thinking messed up, don't be offended when you see the ones that do it keep prospering. Keep getting it. Well, why they getting it? God got respect to pray. No. He ain't got no respect to pray. He got respect to order. A word, when you obey, he said if you willing and obedient, you'll eat the good of the land. I got to do this because I said I was going to do this. And in the meantime, you have lined up with what I said, so I got to do it. Yes. I used to think that it was annoying when people said stuff like that until God started dealing with me and saying, I can't move past my word. It don't matter how you feel about it, Rhonda. I can't move past my word. So it doesn't matter that you be saying someone they can't do, but God is saying, yes, you can. I got to see that you're going to trust me. Ain't none of us been in a situation that you had to choose to be the prophet or you and your child. None of us. None of us ain't been trying. We've been hungry for real, because we can get some stamps. But if they came, you would think this is not God to say, give him a cake first. We would say, that's a lie. God don't want me to be humble. What did the scripture say? He told her, give me a cake first. And then what? She was able to eat. Yes. Her barn never went empty. Right. And it looked like she couldn't afford, because that's what she said. We can eat this and die. Like, I ain't finna give you that point. Like, now, wait a minute. I can go do that with this money. You know what? I done thought to myself. Now, wait. You be tightening in. I said, Lord, you get to think what you can do with that money. You know, you ain't. I could go get me this. I saw this. I want it. And all of it be vanity. Me, it'd be some clothes. Or some earrings or something. But I choose, because my thoughts have lined up with that. God, I want to see your kingdom. But I can't say I want to see us being able to. This is what you know when you give here. You giving the missions. You know that you blessing the homeless. You know that you sowing to St. Jude. You know that you doing, because at Jacob, about how he had to think. For your reading, Genesis 29. Y'all, Jacob, poor thing, he had saw Rachel and said, I got to have her. That means he looked at her and he said, I want her. And he went to her daddy and said, and what he had ended up doing, working for Laban, 70 years. That's how bad he wanted. He came up with a plan. He was thinking, let me come up with a plan. I'll work for you for, I said, dang, he wanted Rachel. 7 years. But her daddy tricked Laban. Sent the other sister in there, Leah, was it? Sent her in there, bless her heart. He sent, the one that's, hey, I didn't fall in love with this. I did not work for this. 7 years, I ain't want to live. Leah's like, well, baby, thank you, Dad. Leah went there, she was glad. But guess what happened? He got upset, but he said, let me get another plan.
Right, come on.
He got upset, but he said, I didn't let his thoughts overtake him. Because the position was, I still see you, Rachel, and I want you. Yeah. So I'm going to tell your dad, I'll do a 7 more years to get you. He did not let his setback deter him. He kept thinking about the plan. How many of you got a plan and you say, God, I want this, and it ain't working? So you're like, let me just find something else. Why? Why, if God gave you this? Yeah. Why you want to switch it and go to something else that look like it's failing? Did God give you the plan or did he not? Yeah. Because if he gave it to you, because he didn't change his mind, so, well, I got to live, broke that out, I'm going to get her and go. He said, no, baby. My plan was I was working for Rachel. And I still want Rachel. Right. So I'm going to give you 7 more years. Your plan is, I'm going to say a cleaning business. I didn't get enough people. Well, let me just go over here to washing cars. But if he said the cleaning business, then that's what you do. Be willing to put in the work. We can't keep jumping. He ain't do this. No. Know what you want. And what you want, whatever you fix your eyes on and you think, come up with another plan. Don't scratch the whole idea. Just add another plan. Maybe I got to do this to make it work. He just gave me 7 more years. I said, that's a long time to work for somebody you love. Maybe you work. Don't answer. Jacob had to focus on his love for Rachel in order to keep going. He had to focus on something. What you going to focus on that let you keep going? Whatever you pick, you better love it and have a passion for it. When you love it and got a passion for it, you can keep doing it. And when you got a passion for something, other people ain't going to understand it. They ain't going to understand it. They ain't going to be saying, it don't take all that. But that's that person's passion, not yours. Not yours. Next, let's talk about Moses right quick. Exodus 18 and 20. You go back and read that in your leisure. Moses, he was over the children of Israel. Jethro was his father-in-law. Jethro saw that Moses was overwhelmed. So he was looking at Moses, watching Moses, and in his looking, he started to think, Moses needs some help. So he said, what you need to do, Moses, get you some judges to help you. So somebody can say, God didn't I'm listening to God. God ain't told me you ain't God. You ain't God. If somebody come with good advice, wisdom is you listen. So when Jethro told Moses to pick some judges, but then what did Moses have to do? He had to begin to think. He had to watch and pray and see, who am I going to pick for the judges to help relieve me of some of this pressure? Because it was too much on him. So he needed to what? Delegate. So when he delegated, it relieved him. But you can't even see who will be a good partner unless you watching and you thinking. And somebody could say, it'll be a good idea to add this. Now, don't let them come change your vision. Right. He didn't try to come change his vision. He said this would lighten your load. So if somebody give you a way to lighten your load, wisdom is what? Let me listen, because this is lightening my load. Moses was the leader, but Jethro saw that he needed some help. So let me give you this to lighten your load. Find you some judges, some men that can help you. Thinking also says to consider. So he had to consider. To think. Y'all, think means a lot of stuff. It means a lot. It don't mean I just thought of this and I just ran with this. No. Thinking to meditate. Not having a thought. A thought is one thing, but thinking is another. You can have a thought, but what you're thinking about is what's going to be manifested. Let's talk about the prodigal son. Luke 15 in your private time. Listen, the prodigal son had done left and had done spent all his little money and did everything he wanted to do. But while he was about to eat the same stuff the hog eat, it said what? He had a what? Thought. So he was there about to eat, he started thinking. He did what? He remembered. Didn't think it said to remember. He remembered, my daddy's servants eat better than this. They live better than this. I'm just going to go on back home. And that's what he did, because he had a thought. So you can be in a hog pen one moment, but when you begin to think on the goodness of God and think about who he is, meditate on the word that's been spoken over you, you will have a thought in the midst of that situation. You'll say, no, but let me go back to where I know. So let me go back to the house of God. Let me go back to the things of God, because that's where my safety, that's where my next deliverance comes. That's where my breakthrough is. That's where love is. That's where compassion is. That's where true joy is, in the presence of the saints. So let me go back. Because he had a thought and he came to himself. It's never too late. All you got to do is have a thought and then meditate on that thought and let thinking bring about remembrance, and you come on back home. And let's talk about Jacob. The last thing, Jacob was a good entrepreneur. Jacob, Genesis 30, 38 through 43, I'm going to read. Jacob, however, this after, he had done tricked him. He had done got broke, and he had done worked out in time for her, so now he got to make some money. He done worked 14 years. He was tending to Laban's sheep. So he went to Laban and said, I'll give you give me all the speckled. Let me read it. Jacob, however, took fresh cut branches from popular almond and plane trees and made white stripes on them by peeling the bark and exposing the white inner wood of the branches. Then he placed the peeled branches in a watering trough so that it would be directly in front of the flock when they came to drink. Now let's stop right there. Who would have thought to let me peel the bark so they can see white? When they come and drink, they're going to produce what they see. Tell me a thought, and what you think ain't something. First, Jacob just coming up with the idea had to be God, correct? Right. Then the fact that an animal can look down and whatever it sees, it produces what it sees. I was like, God, as much as we read it and heard it, how amazing is that if an animal gonna reproduce after what it sees, what do? Your thoughts, whatever your thought, you're conceiving it, so you got to reproduce. That's why it's important what you look at, what you meditate on, what you observe, what you do, what you are around, because I'm looking at you do it. So after a while, I'm going to start doing it. I'm watching you do this, and it looks like you okay doing it. So now I'm going to start trying to do it. Why? Because I'm looking at you. And then thoughts are being formed. Because I can see, my brain is seeing it, so it is digesting it. Now I'm conceiving it because I'm not leaving away from it. I'm staying there to eat. Now that I got it in my heart, now I'm reproducing what I sat there and watched. When the flocks were in the heat and came to drink, they made it in front of the branches. And they bore young that were streaked and speckled or spotted. Jacob set apart the young of the flock by themselves, but made the rest face streak the dark-colored animals that belong to Laban. Y'all can't come over here, because I know if we do, he going to have some. I done told him I'm going to keep all the spotted. So y'all go ahead and make it look. Because if you look over here, you're going to produce the same thing, but I got to let him have his. I got to let him have. I said, Jacob, you were so smart. Then it says, thus he made separate flocks for himself and did not put them with Laban's animal. Whenever the strong females were in heat, now look, he waited till the strong one was in heat. Jacob would place the branches in the troughs in front of the animals so they would mate near the branches. But if the animals were weak, he would not place them there. So the weak animals went to Laban and the strong ones to Jacob. And in this way the men grew exceedingly prosperous and came to his own large flock, and the females and the male servants and the camels and the donkeys. And you know what I came up with that also? The enemy might have a plan, but God will give you a better one. Yeah. Just when somebody think they got you over the barrel, when you sit with your God and think, he will give you a plan. Now don't you know Laban thought he was getting over like, yeah, you get no speckled, yeah, you, because don't let them, yeah, go ahead and get them, because guess what? You don't see very many speckled. Spotted one, you do the whole one, right? And I'm sure they work, they want that. So I was like, God, look at that. Now the enemy had them tricked them out of 14 years. He was his servant. Now I got more cattle than you got, and I got good strong ones. Because you trusted me, the person you done deceived, but I kept my word. I kept the speckled. You got your plain ones, but I got some good strong ones. So just know, even when the enemy tried, God will never let us fail. See, Laban thought he was going to get up on Jacob again, but Jacob had a plan. And he thought, and his thoughts became into thinking. In the midst, God gave him a plan. We are never dealt a bad deal when God shows us how to come up with a plan. What are you thinking about? We ain't never dealt a bad deal when God shows us. In my closing, Jeremiah 33:3 says, call to me, and I will answer you and tell you great and unsearchable things you do not know. So he said, call to me, and I will share with you great and unsearchable things you do not know. Allow God to show you great things. But first we must call on him. Then listen, meaning to think, and he will show us. But we got to meditate and sit with him. All this is equal to thinking. When we think, God is already saying, I got something for you, but I need you to come and sit with me a little while. I'm going to show you great and unsearchable things. Meaning, he can give you something that has not been thought of yet. Unsearchable. Something that had been thought of. A plan to do it like it's never been done. But are you willing to think? Are you willing to think? We gotta think, people. It seems so simple, but thinking is, we do it all the time anyway. And do y'all know how fast our minds can conceive stuff? You ever had something, an emergency come up, so many things come to your mind at one time, you are amazed at how many thoughts come through your mind within seconds? Imagine sitting, meditating with God, saying, I need you to give me a thought. I need you to show me what's going to make me prosper. You said whatever I put my hands to do, it'll prosper. What have you put inside of me that I can put my hands to do to cause me to prosper? What is it, God? What have you given me that's natural that I can do and it can cause me to be prosperous? But let's not want to be prosperous just for ourselves. Want to see other people blessed. Want to be a blessing to other people. And when your heart is like that, God got to get stuff to you. Because you know he can trust you with some stuff. So if you want overflow, be willing to be a lender yourself. Be willing to be what you're saying you need. But you got to change the way you think. The Bible said, blessed it is to give. It's more blessed to give than it is to receive. That means if you're the one that's giving, you got it. But you know, we tell ourselves, if I had it, I would give it. That's not true. You got it now, I won't. But we say, don't we say that? If I had it, I would give it. But we don't think about it. We go do everything else we want. But when it comes to God, I don't have it. But I'm telling you, it's a trick of the enemy because he's trying to keep us from being in that reciprocal with God. He's trying to keep us from that. But when you're tired of struggling, and we all are, and even when you give, you're going to have moments. I don't think you ain't. You're going to have moments in giving. But guess what? You can rest on God. You said. Come on. This what you said. That if I pay my time, that you will open up the window. You said this. So you need to open up some windows, buddy. You got to let some stuff. I won't press down good. Let it run over. I don't see them running fast enough. Where is it at? I need to see some stuff. You can call him on it. Why? Because you've done what he said. So you can be bold and call him on, because it says he is a man that cannot lie. So because he can't lie, call him on it. And I'm telling you, he will come through. Standing